Retro Road Test, Ford Mondeo ST vs Jaguar X-Type, 2004, UK. Right, let's roll back the clock to 2004, when ringtones were polyphonic, TomTom spoke with surprising authority, and the prime question for the keen UK company car driver with a mischievous streak was this: Ford Mondeo ST or Jaguar X-Type? Same family, different personalities. One wears trainers and a knowing grin, the other borrows dad's blazer and insists on calling the motorway the carriageway. Both are fast, practical, and built to eat Britain's B-roads with a cup of service station coffee rattling in the holder. Time for a proper road test. Setting the scene. Ford's third-generation Mondeo, Mk3, had already impressed with its deft chassis and big car ride when the ST220 arrived to add chili to the casserole. Think subtle body kit, purposeful stance, and a 3.0-litre Duratec V6 singing its way to the red line. It came as a hatch, saloon, or estate, because fast Labradors deserve fast boots, and, crucially, with a 6-speed manual that felt designed by people who appreciate snickety engagement. Across the showroom, and rather closer to the coffee machine with proper biscuits, sat the Jaguar X-Type. Ostensibly the entry ticket to the Leaping Cat Club, the X-Type took the Mondeo's excellent basic bones and clothed them in Coventry tailoring, wood, leather, a more formal driving position and, in 3.0-litre form, permanent all-wheel drive. It was pitched at the BMW 3 Series and Audi A4 but, in truth, also had an eye on the executive who liked the Mondeo's dynamics yet wanted a bonnet mascot and the whiff of gentleman's club. Key numbers, UK, circa 2004. Let's talk headline acts. The Mondeo ST's 3.0-litre Duratec V6 delivered a healthy wallop, call it roughly 223 bhp, 226 PS, and around 207 pound-feet, through the front wheels via a 6-speed manual. Official 0-62 miles per hour was roughly 7 seconds flat, depending on body style and who'd had the bigger bacon bap at the test track. Top end. About 150 miles per hour where permitted, i.e., never, but it's nice to know. The Jaguar X-Type 3.0, available in SE or Sport trims, with the later adding firmer suspenders, chunkier seats and less veneer, offered very similar peak power, around 228 bhp/231 PS, and a touch more torque, about 221 pound-feet. The crucial difference was the all-wheel drive system, permanent, with a central coupling deciding how much oomph the rear axle gets when the fronts start to fluster. Manuals were 5-speed, autos were J-gate 5-speed affairs. Performance. Broadly comparable, high 6s to 7 seconds 0-62 miles per hour, and a top end in the mid-140s to about 150 miles per hour depending on spec and gearbox. On paper, then, it's a draw. In person, not quite. Styling and curb appeal. The Mondeo ST is Q-car done the British way, body-colored sills and bumpers, tasteful 18-inch wheels, a ride height that says keen rather than bar fight and just enough chrome to look expensive without going full chandelier. From a distance you might miss it. From the driver's seat of a lesser car, you won't, especially if you've just been overtaken by its confident rump exiting a roundabout. By contrast, the Jaguar drips with invitation. The 4 round headlamps, mesh grille, and short-booted saloon proportions politely assert old money, new finance deal. In sport trim it looks more taut, in SE it's more gentlemanly, and in estate form, yes, the lovely X-Type estate arrived in period, it's almost indecently handsome, like a tweed-clad estate manager who somehow runs a 10K in under 40 minutes. Wheels. The Ford's multi-spoke items are cleaner, the Jaguar's split rims can look a smidge fussy. Paints. Ford's Performance Blue on the ST is the obvious choice if you've still got your PlayStation 2. Jaguars look best in understated metallics that whisper rather than shout. Cabin and ergonomics. Slip into the Ford and you immediately notice the seats. They are big, bolstered, and supportive in the way of a favorite local pub's bench, firm enough that you won't fall asleep, comfy enough that you'll stay for another packet of crisps. The driving position is spot on, wheel where you want it, pedals aligned, and a gear lever that lands underhand like it belongs there. Dials are clear, switchgear has that Ford solidity, and there's a nice brushed alloy motif to remind you this isn't a fleet spec LX with beige carpets and a smell of despair. The Jaguar counters with ambience. Proper veneer, unless you've gone sport with aluminium, leather that looks like it remembers cows, and instrumentation that makes you want to put on a jacket. The driving position is a tad higher and more formal, you feel perched in the Jag, ensconced in the Ford. The Jag seats are slimmer and slightly firmer in sport trim, softer in SE, both hold you well enough, though the Mondeo's broader cushions will better suit varied driver shapes and marathon motorway stints. Space. The Mondeo is the bigger car inside, particularly rear legroom and boot capacity, and the estate could host a barn dance. The X-Type is fine for 4 adults but tighter across shoulders and knees, call it compact executive rather than mid-size family. Cabin quality. The Jaguar's materials impress where they meet the eye, but some of the lower plastics betray cost control. The Ford's fittings, while humbler in theme, feel uniformly robust. You'll happily thump the Mondeo's door bins, you'll pat the Jag's door tops like a Labrador. Engines and gearboxes. Both cars use the Duratec V6 family, and both sound terrific, silky idle, velvety mid-range, and a cultured howl as the needle sweeps past 5,000 RPM. The Mondeo's tune feels slightly keener at the top, revving with a shade more enthusiasm, and the 6-speed manual is a gem, short throw, positive gate, and ratios that keep the engine on the boil. It's a drivetrain that encourages mischief, second for the tight stuff, third to punch out, fourth to settle, then fifth or sixth to cruise. The X-Type's 3.0 has an extra whiff of torque, which suits the all-wheel drive system. Off the line it digs in and just goes, wet or dry, there's no chirrup, no torque steer, just dignified haste. The 5-speed manual is fine, meaty rather than flick knife, and the J-Gate Auto, while relaxed and smooth, blurs the edges of the engine's delightful top-end sparkle. If you're the sort to downshift for the fun of it, stick with the manual. If you prefer your progress swift and silk-lined, the Auto suits the Jaguar's ethos beautifully. Ride and handling. Now to the meat and to veg. The Mondeo ST's reputation was, and remains, built on its chassis. It's a wonderfully sorted car, accurate steering with genuine feel, a front axle that sniffs out grip like a truffle pig, and damping that keeps things flat yet supple. On a typical British B-road, broken camber, crests, surprise potholes, the ST breathes with the surface. Hit a mid-corner bump and it shrugs, lean on the front and it responds, feather the throttle and the rear helps tighten your line. For a front driver with this much poke, it's impressively neutral. Push properly hard and you'll meet understeer, but it's telegraphed and tidy. In short, huge confidence, big laughs. The Jaguar, though, has claws. All-wheel drive changes the conversation, particularly in the wet. Turn-in is a touch softer than the Ford, there's a shade more roll, a hint more initial compliance, but once it sets, the X-Type drives from the middle, you feel both axles working, the rear helping push you out of the corner like a discreet hand at your back. There's less drama, less wheel spin, and, if we're honest, slightly less feedback through the wheel. But on a rainy Tuesday in North Yorkshire, the Jag will be faster more of the time. It's the quietly devastating one, less sparkle at 9/10, unflappable at 10. Ride quality is where their characters are most distinct. The Mondeo ST rides firmly but never harshly, it's superbly tied down at speed and only gets thumpy on sharp urban edges. The Jaguar, especially in SE trim on more forgiving tires, is more compliant at low speed and on gnarly surfaces, with a faint luxury lilt that makes the car feel big Jag despite its compact footprint. The sport spec narrows the gap but doesn't erase it. The Mondeo still talks more, the Jaguar still wafts more. Brakes. Both are strong and progressive, with good pedal feel. The Ford's pedal sits higher and bites earlier, the Jaguar's is a shade softer at the top, then digs in. Repeated hard use on a mountainous romp will warm both sets and reward a cool-down run, but neither disgraces itself. Steering and feel. Ford nailed hydraulic assistance back then, and the ST is Exhibit A. There's genuine texture, you feel the tire carcasses load and unload, the crown of the road, the moment grip peaks. The rack isn't hyper-quick, just right, and the wheel itself is the ideal size. It encourages a light-fingered, flowing style. The Jaguar's steering is accurate and consistent, yet more filtered. There's enough information to place the car cleanly, but it doesn't fizz in your palms like the Ford's. If the Mondeo speaks conversational English, the X-Type sends a polite letter on headed paper. NVH and motorway manners. Noise, vibration, harshness, Britain's big three after T, telly, and tutting. The Mondeo, despite its sporty remit, is impressively civilized on the motorway. At 70 miles per hour in sixth, the V6 hums at modest revs, wind noise is contained, and tire thrum is ever present but never intrusive. The Jaguar steps a fraction quieter, particularly wind hush around the A-pillars, and with the auto it's almost soporific. Both are superb long-distance tools. After 3 hours you'll emerge in either car fresh enough to pronounce Gloucestershire on the first go. Practicality and day-to-day use. On the school run or the Tesco shuffle, the Mondeo is the easier companion. Visibility is excellent, the boot-in hatch and estate form is simply enormous, and the rear seat folds with an honesty that makes you wonder why some cars need origami to achieve the same. The turning circle is reasonable, speed bumps are handled with a firm there it is rather than a nervous wince. The Jaguar is slightly trickier to park thanks to thicker pillars and a shorter rear deck, though sensors help. The saloon's boot is large but not as easily accessed as the Ford's wide hatch. The estate redresses the balance with a beautifully trimmed load bay and looks that could sell garden furniture to a man with no garden. Child seats fit fine in both, Isofix is present where you'd expect, and both will swallow a family weekend, bags, dog, emergency picnic blanket, without drama. Running costs, period correct expectations. Neither of these is a parsimonious little diesel. Mid-20s miles per gallon is a fair UK combined figure for both in mixed use, with high 20s possible on a gentle A-road cruise and late teens if you drive like every roundabout is a qualifying lap. Tires on 18-inch wheels aren't bargain bin cheap. Insurance groups reflect the performance but won't require you to sell an organ. Servicing intervals are sensible and, in 2004 Britain, you could find a Ford dealer in whatever town also had a W.H. Smith. Jaguar dealer visits were pricier but came with plusher coffee, and occasionally a biscuit that hadn't been bought that morning. Reliability and niggles, contemporary reputation. In period, the Mondeo's V6 had a solid name, enjoying fresh oil and cooling systems that didn't have tantrums if you treated them kindly. Clutches lasted if not abused, suspension bushes were consumables on Britain's cratered roads, and electrics were more robust than folklore suggests. The Jaguar's AWD system was generally dependable. Wheel bearings and suspension components could grumble with age and mileage. Early interiors sometimes squeaked like a mouse union meeting. None of this was scandalous, just the usual buy with your eyes open used car reality. Back in 2004, under warranty, both were safe bets provided you didn't try to ford, a flood in February. Character and feel. Here's where your heart decides. The Mondeo ST is a driver's car wrapped in a family car's body. It's transparent, eager, and unpretentious. There's real joy in how it strings a road together. You drive it with fingertips and toes, and it rewards neatness with pace. It also has a streak of hooligan. Drop 2 gears, hear the V6 clear its throat, and watch exit speed happen to you. Then it will just as happily trundle to IKEA, swallow a bookcase, and go home the scenic way. The Jaguar X-Type is a mood piece. It feels classier from the off, with that woody, leathery cabin and the sense, accurate or not, that you're in something a cut above. The AWD adds a layer of composure that makes poor weather a non-event, and its long-legged gait turns dreary commutes into calm ones. It's more discreet in how it delivers fun. You don't fling it so much as guide it, and it replies with unflappable momentum rather than cheeky lift-off antics. On the same road, same day. Picture a wet Sunday on the Brecon Beacons. In the Mondeo ST you'll be all wrists and rhythm, brake in a straight line, rotate with a breath of throttle, pick up the nose early, feel the steering lighten as the tires skim across glossy tarmac, and fire it down the next straight with a second gear snarl. You're involved, busy, part rally driver, part weather forecaster. In the Jaguar you point the nose, trust the grip, and let the car do the heavy lifting. There's less wheel spin drama, the rear engages and you exit straighter and often faster, the V6 working in its fat middle where the torque helps you surf through. On a route with damp patches, muddy hedgerow runoff and the odd sheep-related surprise, the Jag will maintain a relentless, tidy pace with fewer theatrics. On warm, dry tarmac, the Ford will make you grin wider. The gearboxes make the mood. One of the great pleasures of the ST is its 6-speed. The extra ratio not only drops revs on the motorway but also lets you keep the V6 in the meat of its song without resorting to this might annoy the neighbors' speeds. The clutch is positive, the pedal weight's beautifully matched. In the Jag, the manual is fine, strong, deliberate, but its temperament suits the car's calmer nature. The auto makes the Jaguar feel almost GT-like. The Mondeo, by contrast, always feels like a well-sorted sports saloon that happens to have 5 seats. Infotainment and toys, 2004 realism. We're in the era of 6-disc changers, sat-nav discs that look like they were compiled by a cartographer using a potato, and phone integration that assumes your handset flips open. The Ford's controls are straightforward. The optional sat-nav works as long as you don't expect real-time anything, and the audio is punchy enough to battle tire roar on grotty surfaces. The Jaguar's system is glossier, with a more premium head unit and a stronger factory audio option, though neither car will stream your indie playlist without aftermarket help and a few prayers. Climate control. Dual zone available forward/standard depending on trim, both effective at turning British drizzle into cabin coziness. Safety and sense. ABS, traction control, multiple airbags, both cars tick the period boxes. The Mondeo's electronic helpers are tuned to intervene later, letting the chassis strut its stuff. The Jaguar's stability systems are more conservative but can be persuaded to let you have your fun as long as you don't do anything daft. Headlights are decent, xenons, where fitted, raise the game considerably and make night B-roads less guess and pray. The money conversation, as it was. Sticker prices circa 2004 put the Mondeo ST substantially below the Jaguar. A well-spec'd ST undercut an X-Type 3.0 SE by several hearty family holidays. Ford aimed the ST at people who wanted all the pace and most of the polish without the badge tax. Jaguar asked you to pay for ambience, AWD security, and the allure of those four letters on the boot. In the real world, that premium bought you a different ownership experience, nicer dealerships, the intangible satisfaction of a leaper on the grill, and residuals that, at the time, you told yourself would make it all balance out. Maths can be optimistic. Verdicts for different buyers. If you love driving for driving's sake, get the Mondeo ST. The steering feel, the balance, the gear shift, the way it shrugs off awkward surfaces, this is the connoisseur's choice. It's the better car to learn in, to improve with, to wake up early for. It has the bigger boot, the better rear legroom, and an honesty that's very British, fun without fuss. If your roads are usually wet and your mood is usually calm, the Jaguar X-Type 3.0 is your ally. AWD traction, a quieter cabin, and a subtle grace make it the consummate cross-country express when the weather can't be bothered. It's less talkative but more unflappable, and it leaves you feeling unruffled even after a hard charge. If you've got a dog, a pram, a treadmill, and a sudden urge to buy a canoe, Mondeo Saint Estate. No contest. It hauls, then hauls. If you wear a tie to the office and occasionally to the pub, the Jaguar fits your wardrobe and your parking space. In sport trim it looks purposeful, in SE it looks like you've arrived without needing to announce it. A few period-correct spec notes to seal it. Mondeo ST, ST220-223 bhp from a 3.0-litre V6, 207 pound-feet, 6-speed manual, front-wheel drive, 0-62 miles per hour 7.0s, top speed 150 miles per hour. Hatch, saloon, and estate, sports suspension, supportive sports seats, big brakes, 18-inch wheels, and a chassis that could teach night classes. Jaguar X-Type 3.0, SE/Sport 228 bhp 3.0-litre V6, 221 pound-feet, 5-speed manual or 5-speed J-Gate auto, permanent AWD, 0-62 miles per hour high 6s to 7.0s, top speed mid 140s to 150 miles per hour depending on transmission. Cabin with leather and veneer, or aluminium, a more formal driving position, quieter cruise, and weatherproof pace. The cheeky bit, which would I take home? If someone handed me both sets of keys and told me to choose for a year in Britain, rain, potholes, grit, and the odd glorious heat wave, I'd do what any sensible person would, ask for the Mondeo ST for summer and the Jaguar for winter. But pressed the Ford, by a whisker, because it makes every journey feel like a drive rather than an errand. It's the better teacher, the fuller conversation, the one that makes you take the long way round on a Tuesday. Yet walk away from the Jaguar. Hardly. It's the grown-up alternative that refuses to be boring. On a sodden November morning, when the A-roads glisten like eel skin and every hedge is plotting your demise, the X-Type's planted poise will have you arriving early and wondering why everyone else looks stressed. Final word. Same family, different philosophies. The Mondeo ST is the extrovert engineer, precise, communicative, cheekily capable. The Jaguar X-Type is the discreet diplomat, composed, secure, soothingly quick. In 2004 Britain, both gave you big engine charisma, real-world usability, and a proper sense of occasion without requiring a German passport. Whichever one you choose, you win. And if you end up with the ST Estate in Performance Blue, do let your dog know he's got a faster car than most hot hatches. He'll approve.